All right, everybody, welcome back to Keep It Kula Podcast. What episode is this? 35?
Yeah, I think you might be right on. It's been so long, right?
Yes, we are very sorry for our little hiatus we took. It's been about 3 months, I want to say, since filming. I think going into the season, I thought I would have a lot more time, both of us, and
Yeah.
we kind of realized, because when we started this podcast November 2020, and that was like peak COVID. I was home. I wasn't seeing anybody. So this is all I had to do. This is my only responsibility, was to do this, school. That's it. Now I'm away. I'm with a bunch of people all the time. I have a lot more things to do, and not just this. So it does suck though that we didn't film a lot this season, because it was a really, really fun season. A lot happened. So I guess that's kind of why we came back today. We do want to continue doing this. It's just life gets crazy sometimes, and I'm in third year. You just graduated, so it's a lot is going on. I'm back in person in class. Like, things are a little bit crazier now, but we know that we needed to come back to talk about this because Mark and I both love football. So my mic cut out.
Some mic little problems
All right.
there, but
My mic is not working. I think because sorry if the sound is bad now. There's no more mic.
It's not that bad. No.
But
what is it like? Is it because it's like? Is it? What do you know? What's wrong with it?
No,
like,
I mean the same thing, but I guess I haven't used it in so long. Maybe it just needs some time to work again. So
I guess, yeah.
Sorry, no more mic, no headphones. It's very weird, right? I guess I could use the headphones, but I don't want to plug it in.
Yeah.
Anyways, what we were saying, we want to come back to talk about football. A lot happened. To start it off, I guess we start off with the playoffs. Would you say this was like the best playoffs we've had in years?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I think wild card round was a blowout, right? Wild card round, the super wild card weekend, bunch of blowouts there. You had the Bills destroying the Patriots, and then the Steelers beating the Chiefs. The Eagles did nothing against the Bucks. You had all those games, and they kind of were underwhelming.
Right.
And then divisional weekend hit, and those were four of the best games I've seen. I mean, most people called it the best weekend of football ever, and it was insane. The conference championships last week, or about a week and a half ago, those were great, and now we're left with our Super Bowl, Bengals Rams. And I remember, sorry, Jack, I just remember our last episode, and that was back in November. Yeah, like 3 months ago, like you were saying. And then we've just been busy and stuff, but we want to get back at it. But I remember when we were talking in our last episode, and that was right when the Rams were really getting everybody. They were getting Von Miller. We talked about how Odell was just cut by Cleveland, and how he might go to the Rams and stuff. And, we were kind of saying, I mean, this could be the year for Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And they've pulled through. They almost choked against Tampa and Brady. We'll talk about that. And then last week they had to come back against San Fran.
Yes.
But the Rams are in the Super Bowl, and then Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who in their right mind would have thought they would be in the Super Bowl?
No, I mean, well, I guess though, and when we last filmed, I did not, but when the playoffs start, you know how NFL or CBS or something does a bracket challenge. I'm going to show you what I picked in January. Cincy? I'm going to show you my full bracket. Okay, this is not edited, so I'll show you, and then I'll pop it up better on the screen when I edit this. But back in January, I did my bracket, and this January 11th, I have a screenshot of me doing it. This is my pick.
Oh,
Bengals,
wow.
And Rams.
Spot on. And not only that, but
I got everything except the Niners game. Niners Packers is the only one I got wrong. I had a perfect bracket.
Yeah, you did. Outside of you had Packers Rams in the conference championship, but outside of that, holy crap, you could have won a lot of money had you stuck with your bracket and maybe put some money on it. Because you picked some of those upsets too. Most people didn't think Cincy was going to beat Kansas City.
No, right? I just did this because I want to see the Bengals win. I just wanted it because why not? I like Burrow. I like the team. The Bengals, they haven't had anything. So I want to see them win. So I just did it just because why not? And I predicted it right if they win, if they do end up winning. But I had a perfect bracket except for the Packers Niners, which is kind of annoying.
which was one of the biggest upsets, probably the
Yeah.
biggest upset of the playoffs. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody thought really San Fran was going to go into Green Bay and hold Aaron Rodgers to 10 points.
No way.
What a story that is. Like
Mhm.
at home in Lambeau Field, and San Fran scored 6 points offensively, and they won 13 to
Right.
10
Right.
because they had that punt recover for a touchdown as well, right? So they only scored 6 points offensively, and they beat Aaron Rodgers, who might be the MVP this year. I mean, who would have thought,
Yeah.
right? Regardless, though, that is an impressive bracket. I wish I could say I would have thought Cincinnati would win, but to be honest with you, I actually picked Tennessee to beat Cincinnati all the way back in the divisional.
Okay.
So I didn't
Mm,
have as much faith in the Bengals as many others did, and I'm wrong, but you know what? It's a great story because I love Burrow as well, and
love him.
I'm kind of conflicted on the Super Bowl. We'll talk about the Super Bowl. I think we're gonna get into that now, but I don't know. You know, I like the Rams for Ramsey
Yeah.
and stuff, but
Mhm.
the Bengals are a great story. And it's a
Yes.
young team, so many like exciting players on that team.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know, who do you think has the upper edge in the Super Bowl? Or what are you maybe most looking forward to this Sunday at the Super Bowl? The halftime show is going to be good too.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm excited for. We have a great halftime show coming up. And just with the Rams Bengals, they're just two teams that deserve it. I think I'm
They
going to
do
be watching this game. Just like, I'm not, I guess I will be cheering for the Bengals, but at the same time, I want to see Stafford win because in my opinion, he's the only guy in the league who has never won one and deserves it the most.
Yep.
So there's that. But then again, I would love a story of Burrow coming back. I think last year when we talked about it last season, I said Burrow was done because of I think he tore his ACL. I was
He
thinking
did.
Burrow is done. It was a wasted pick, but I would love to see him win. And just the city, to have Cincinnati win, just the biggest upset probably since the Giants won. It would be the biggest upset, one of them at
For
least.
sure. Yeah, when you guys were a wild card team and went
Mhm.
in and took down the undefeated Patriots. And
Yeah.
we've talked
So
about that on this show a lot too, with guys like Banks and guys, a
mm,
bunch of the Giants guys that we had on last year. But yeah, the thing is with the Super Bowl, and I think that's why a lot of people are going to be tuning in. There's no Tom Brady. There's no Peyton Manning. There's no Aaron Rodgers. Like no Russell Wilson.
no
None of the
Mahomes.
usual Mahomes, of course. Yeah, none of the usual people that we've seen in the Super Bowl. They're
Yeah.
not in it this year. We have two fresh teams, two fresh quarterbacks, which
And I
is
love that.
it's so exciting, right? And like the story on it is great. Matthew Stafford, all those years in Detroit, one of the worst franchises in the NFL over the past decade or so. And then Joe Burrow tears his ACL last year. This was his first full year,
Yeah.
and now he's playing in a Super Bowl. So the stories are great. Cincinnati has never won a Super Bowl,
Ever.
so they're going for their first ever. And the Rams, they have one Super Bowl, but again, we've been so used to seeing the Chiefs and the Bucks and all
Yes. The
Patriots, of
Patriots, the
course, right?
Broncos a couple of years ago, the
Yeah,
Seahawks. So it's just so nice to see refreshing faces, new faces. Odell will also be so kind of that Giants there. So I'm just excited. It's gonna be fun. Just what an amazing playoffs and super gonna get. Hopefully it's a good Super Bowl. It could be a blowout, which would kind of suck, but
yeah, and I
hopefully it's a
don't
good
want to
one.
see that. I think it'll be an interesting matchup. It's Ramsey versus Chase is a matchup that a lot of
Yes.
people are wanting to see. The Bengals offensive line. Remember, Burrow was sacked 9 times in that Titans game. Burrow's been taking a lot of hits, and now you have Aaron Donald and Von Miller and all those boys coming after him. So I'm really just watching that high potent Bengals offense against the great Rams defense that has Ramsey and Miller and Donald, all those great players. And they signed Eric Weddle too
Right.
during the playoffs. So it's a stacked defense. It's an equally as stacked offense for Cincy. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be super exciting. Everybody was talking earlier. I remember when we were talking about the draft last year too, and the debate was Cincinnati should have taken Sewell, the offensive tackle that the Lions took, instead of a receiver. I think Jamar Chase was the right pick because
Yeah.
he's for sure the offensive rookie of the year
Oh, he
this
has
year.
to be. He has to
Yeah.
be. Who else is in the running for that?
I mean, the only other person you could probably mention would be Mac Jones, right?
Mhm.
But he did not have anywhere near the season that Jamar Chase had. Yeah, when you think about that, the first Chiefs game in the regular season, I think Chase had 260 yards or something like that too, right?
Yeah,
So
he's crushing it.
it's it'll be super exciting. One of the other things that happened in the playoffs that of course I think we have to talk about is the legend retiring, Tom Brady. And it was interesting, right? Because it broke and then he tried to pull it back,
Yeah,
and then a couple days later he wanted to announce it himself. I think
right.
just Brady didn't want Schefter or other
Yeah.
reporters to jump in front of him, right?
That was insane. I remember my roommate called me over. She's like, Jaclyn, Brady retired. Because I had checked my phone and I'm thinking like, no, there's no
Yeah.
way. I know there was talks about it, but it's Brady. Like Brady will never, he can never. And I check and it's all over. But then it ended up being not true. And then Brady
Yeah.
announces that you, as you said. But it really like when Brady retired, I texted you after being like, we need a film. Because it
Yeah.
really, I think, being back in the world again, crazy stuff happening. I kind of, I've still been watching football every Sunday, but I kind of lost a little bit of like the passion of talking about it and getting excited about other things. But when Brady retired, I was like, yeah, see, this doesn't feel right. This is weird. I need to get back and talk about this because it reminded me that I love this game so much because like I remember watching Brady, like one of the first guys watching Eli, watching Brady, and all these guys that I grew up watching. And I started watching later in life. I started watching, I guess, like the end of 2012 kind of thing.
Right.
So now seeing these guys that were playing retiring, it really reminds me that like I've been watching football for 10 years almost, and everybody's leaving, but I want this love to stay. So it's insane that he's retiring.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because that's who we kind of grew up sort of watching when he was in his prime. And the craziest thing about it is he was still in his prime. I think there's so many stats people can mention about Brady, and this just shows that he's like the greatest of all time. And it's just because like back in the 2000s, before we were even watching football, he was winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And then when we first started watching, like you're saying, in 2012, and then I kind of started watching in like 2009, 2010, that's when he had those Super Bowls against the Giants. And then just recently, he was in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs last year, and then he
Yeah.
was in the Super Bowl against the Rams, and he led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns this year. Like
Yes.
he is still playing at the top of his level, and it's been like that throughout all of our years of watching football, and
Always.
even before we
Yeah.
started watching football. So it's
Yeah.
it's like an incredible career. I think most teams are happy that he's gone now, right? But
Yeah. But it's
but
still like
it's sad for the NFL viewer, right? Because
yes.
it is greatness. Like he was the epitome of greatness. As much as you can hate him, and a lot of people did hate him, just like a lot of people hate Mahomes, you
Yes.
can't take away the rings that they have,
Yeah,
right?
like I don't hate I don't have any hate towards Brady. Like, yeah, whatever. But as a
Yeah.
Giants fan,
Yeah.
he never did anything to us. Eli beat him twice. Like there's no problem there. But it's gonna just be so weird now, never thinking of Brady in the Super Bowl or in the conference finals, whatever, in the conference championship. It's
Yep.
just who's the next Brady? I know everyone's Mahomes, but is it Burrow? Is it, or there's just never gonna be another Brady? Like there probably
Yeah,
won't
and
be.
this leads all of these young guys into the spotlight now. And Mahomes has already kind of had the spotlight, but all the other guys that you're mentioning, yeah, Burrow and Justin Herbert, and so many other young passers across the league, right? It's crazy because Drew Brees retired last year as well. Ben Roethlisberger retired before Brady. I think a lot of people kind of maybe might forget about Roethlisberger's
Yeah.
retirement because Brady retired right after.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you have all these greats, and then Peyton Manning was a few years back, and now there's questions about Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and Rodgers hasn't made a conference. Well, he hasn't made a Super Bowl in over 10 years now, so it's really all these young guys who are coming in, except for Matthew Stafford, who is finally in the Super Bowl, but this is his first year with a new team. So it's interesting. There's a lot of young faces around the league who can, like you said, who's going to become the next Brady. And Joe Burrow is on a good route right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, so is Patrick Mahomes. That Chiefs Bills game was insanity. I just want to mention that. We didn't talk about that too much here, but the best football game I've ever seen.
It was it was just insane. I like this playoffs have been amazing, but just that game, I knew it was gonna be a great game, but I think that kind of just nobody expected that. Just insane, and the overtime, it was nuts. But
Sorry, I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast before. Like you said, I think we're on 34th or 35th episode, but the overtime rules in the playoffs, do you have a problem with them, or are you on the side that says let it be, if the defense can't get a stop, then that's their fault? Or are you on the side that thinks both teams should touch the ball, right? Because in that Chiefs Bills game, Josh Allen did not even get a chance to touch the ball in overtime. Right?
Yeah, I was thinking that because people were very upset by that. But with the Bengals Chiefs, it went to overtime as well. And
exactly, and the opposite thing happened.
So honestly, I think after that, the Bills game, I was like, yeah, they need to change it. But then after seeing the Chiefs Bengals, I think I realized it's true. Like if your defense is really good, they can stop them. That game, it was just the winner was going to be the one who touched the ball, just because the game was going. It was all offense. The end of the game was all offense. And that's just not how football is played. Football, defense wins championships. So if you're really going to go to the Super Bowl, you need to have the defense. And if you have a really great defense, then they're not going to score a touchdown on that drive.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with what you're saying there too. It was they were two different games. So it's the dynamic of the game, right? In the Bills Chiefs game, I think there was 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes, right?
Something like that, yeah.
None of the defenses were stopping anything. Every play was like 20 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards, whatever the case. In the Bengals Chiefs game, the Bengals actually held the Chiefs to only 3 points in the second half. It was the Chiefs were leading 21-10 at halftime, and then it was 24-24 going into overtime. So the Bengals defense was stopping the Chiefs the whole second half.
Right.
Whereas the Bills defense were not stopping the Chiefs at all in the final 2 minutes.
Right.
So it is
a tough one.
It's a tough debate, and there's people on both sides. There's people who say, yeah, defense wins championships. If your defense can't get a stop, simple as that. But there's also people who say, how was the Bills going to get a stop there, considering they were getting just, scored on at will in the last 2 minutes. So I don't know. I would like to see a change to the rule. I'm sure there'll be lots of debate about it in the off season, but we'll see. I understand both sides of the situation. So we'll see what happens there, right? And it happened to the Chiefs a couple years back too, when Brady won the coin toss with the Patriots, and Mahomes never touched the ball. That was the 2018 championship game. So it happens, and this debate comes up every year.
Every year, yeah. So it's always gonna.
It's interesting. Where do we want to maybe switch to kind of next here? Like we said, there's a lot going on. There's so much we can sort of talk about. With the Super Bowl, and I think the big story everyone's talking about in the NFL outside of the Super Bowl and the on-field stuff is Brian Flores, right?
Yes.
And all of the coaching hirings and the situation of diversity in the NFL, and I know we've touched about that a lot on the podcast as well. So
we haven't. We've talked with Weish, I think, about that. We talked with Sam Ocho about that, and
with Jim Trotter as well.
Yes. And I think we thought that things were going to change, but with this everything going on now and all of these hirings and then the suing of the league, it really shows us that there's a problem. And it does seem very true that these GMs know, or these owners and GMs know who they are gonna hire, and they just interview Black coaches just to say that they did because of the rule. So it does seem that there is a very, very big problem, and I don't know how is this going to change. Like it's the people in power. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and that is exactly what I was just going to say. Because you know what, that was Steve Weich's answer. And like you said, when you heard about Brady retiring, you were focused on the podcast. We had to get back and record. And when I saw Flores drop his lawsuit, I just thought back to our interview with Steve Weish, because Weish does a great job covering minorities and diversity in the NFL. And I remember, and I went back and I watched a short clip of that episode, and we asked him, what is the solution to the Rooney rule? And this is last year. This is a whole year ago. Yeah. And he said it has nothing to do with the general managers or the coaching candidates. It has to do with the people at the top, the people in power. It's the owners. And I think his answer, he had something sort of funny to say, but he was saying it in a serious way. He says the owners had to go through some, training or something basically.
Right. Right.
And that's the thing, right? Because there's 32 owners and the majority, large majority of them are white
Right.
and they're all billionaires and they don't like to get told what to do.
No,
Right?
they
Billionaires
don't.
don't like to get told what to do.
No, they do
Right.
not.
And I just don't know what the solution is, but that's why this lawsuit by Flores is a good step
It is.
towards
Yeah,
fixing it because it puts the pressure on the league.
I agree.
And he has a lot of for him to do that, he's risking his career
Yeah,
basically.
there's a huge chance he will never work again in the league.
And that's
This is very
astonishing.
similar to Kaepernick,
It is.
making a stand for what's right, and that could be this, but hopefully this can lead to change, because it's so true. Like, people just don't realize that there's so many amazing coaches that just are not getting hired.
Well, yeah, and you think this year there was 9 head coach openings, and
Yeah.
both of our teams have new
Mhm.
coaches. I think we'll talk about that briefly.
Yeah.
But out of 9 head coaches, only one black coach was hired,
Yep.
and then there was one biracial coach. The Dolphins hired Mike McDaniel,
Right.
the 49ers OC. So that's still 2 out of 9 in the diversity pool, and it's not because there's a lack of candidates. There was Byron Leftwich, who I really wanted the Jaguars to get.
Yeah.
There's Eric Bieniemy on the Chiefs. There are countless names. Jim Caldwell, an old Super Bowl winning coach. There are so many names out there, and it just seems like all these coaches are just getting brought in for an interview so that they can check the boxes
Right.
on the Rooney Rule list, and that shows that there's a problem.
Yeah, it's not right.
The other big problem, and again, it's just in the lawsuit. Nothing's proven. The NFL is investigating, but I don't think he says this. I don't think Brian Flores makes this up. He was getting paid $100,000 to lose games, right? At each game that they lost, he would get paid $100,000 because the Dolphins owner wanted him to tank, right? That just completely destroys the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
So
it ruins everything about football. Like,
yeah, nobody plays a football game to lose.
No.
But the owner wanted a high draft pick, and the owner was willing to bribe his head coach, and in doing so, make his head coach look terrible around the league, just so he could get a high draft pick, right? And that is insane. So we'll see. The NFL is going to investigate that, and we'll see what happens. It's a great thing that Brian Flores is doing because he's kind of committing career suicide by doing it. Nobody really wants to touch him, but good thing that he's doing it, and we'll see how that kind of goes. Do you like your new head coach in New York?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, just to see what he's done with the Bills is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I think I think we're hiring defensive coordinator or Ravens defensive coordinator. Is that what's going on? I'm not too sure what's going on. I'm a little confused.
I think I heard something about that.
So there's something
That
going
was
on.
just today.
A lot going on. We have a new GM as well. Just a lot of good things happening. So I really hope that this can change our team. And then I think hopefully we do stick with Jones this season. I would say this is we give him one more chance, and if he's no good, then pick a new guy. Or if Russell Wilson wants to come to New York, we do that. I love that. And then you too. You also have a new coach. Your old coach is supposed to be, really good, but
he was supposed to be great. That didn't happen. And I wish that we were talking more throughout the year, and that's what we said. We missed a lot of time throughout the year. We were busy, things get busy, but that would have been interesting to follow throughout the year. And I think we did have one episode talking about him leaving the bar and dancing, but we could have done maybe 2 or 3 episodes on everything Urban Meyer did wrong. Maybe the worst head coach in NFL history. What a joke. Absolutely ridiculous. And I was so excited. What a fool.
We were so excited. Oh my gosh, that's all we were talking about. We were so hyped, and it wasn't
did not go well. And then also we hired Doug Peterson, and he's a Super Bowl winning coach, but I remember we talked on an episode at the end of last year. It was the season finale.
Yeah.
And you can find that on our channel. And we had some pretty strong opinions on Doug Peterson. I think we both said he probably should never coach in the NFL again.
And now he's your coach.
And now he's the Jaguars coach.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm not trying to take back what I said last year, but I'm happy. I'm kind of happy we got him. But also, that was a big problem last year because that goes to the integrity of the game too. He literally took a quarterback out during a 2-point game and put a third or fourth string quarterback in when that game had so much playoff implications on it. You guys could have made the playoffs had the Eagles won, I'm pretty sure.
I know.
And Doug Peterson screwed that up, and now he's my head coach. So it's interesting. We'll see how it goes. I wanted Byron Leftwich, like I said, the Bucks offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But we'll see. The Jaguars are a sorry franchise. We are picking number 1 overall for the second straight year. So anytime you think it's really bad in New York, you can always think about me in Jacksonville. It's pretty bad, but we're both not doing too good this year. Hopefully you guys are turning into kind of Buffalo because your new GM and your new head coach are both from the Bills. And listen, they did amazing work with Josh Allen. So hopefully that magic can be recreated with Daniel Jones. Like we said earlier on this podcast, Daniel Jones is not the problem. The team has a lot of other problems outside of Jones. And your new GM and coach said the same thing. They said we got to actually give the kid a fair shot. Because new coaches every year, new offensive coordinators every year, no offensive line, all of that, like Barkley not playing good at all this year, being hurt the past 2 years. What is Jones supposed to do? Right?
Exactly.
We'll see.
One more chance.
That'll be interesting to watch this year. Hopefully our teams maybe get to the playoffs or something. We'll see. There's a whole off season in front of us though. So
definitely. So I guess to wrap it up here, we got Super Bowl this Sunday. Make sure everyone watching. I think it starts at 6:30. Two teams I think we all want to see do well. I think it'll just be fun to watch and not stressful. Go Bengals because I picked them, but I'm happy to see their team win. We got NFL honors. The awards will be Saturday night as well. I guess we can talk about that after. We should definitely film next week, talk about Super Bowl and NFL awards. We didn't really get to share our predictions, but we could definitely just talk about it afterwards and say who we wish wanted that we wanted to win or who got snubbed.
Who do you think, just quickly though, the MVP probably going to Aaron Rodgers, you would think?
I was thinking Rodgers as well.
Yeah, I think it has to go to Rodgers. So
yeah, I'm gonna say Rodgers as well, but who knows what's gonna happen. A lot of fun stuff coming up, and we will definitely be filming after the Super Bowl.
We most certainly will. There'll be so much to talk about, and maybe there'll be new stuff on Brian Flores, and you never know with what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. He said he wants to have a decision made on what he wants to do as well. And he dominated the whole offseason last year. Hopefully he doesn't dominate the whole offseason. Hopefully we get an answer from him kind of early this year. And he doesn't drag it on like he did last year. But so you got the Bengals this week?
I got Bengals, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to disagree with you. So we'll talk about that next week. I'm going to pick the Rams. Honestly, like you said, there's no teams that we hate here. It's going to be a fun Super Bowl. It's a great story on both sides. I don't care who wins. I want to see a good game. But if I had to make a prediction, I am going to go with the Rams. I just think they have too much firepower on that team.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a hell of a game. I hope it goes double, triple, 4 overtime.
That'd be great.
It should be great, and we'll recap it next week for sure.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Sorry for the technical difficulties with my mic. Hopefully that is all sorted out next week. But once again, thank you for coming back. It's been a while. We're finally back. Finally. And we will see you guys soon.